Imagine facing criminal charges, not because your factory floor is dangerous or your equipment is faulty, but just because someone in the break room used the wrong type of notebook.
Right. Yeah.
Or, because a manager put a stamp on an envelope instead of clicking a button on a website. Today, we are unpacking the invisible legal traps that are basically just hiding inside everyday filing cabinets.
It sounds completely absurd when you frame it like that, I know. But this is a massive and honestly growing liability for businesses right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing this widespread phenomenon where a company's physical safety standards are, well, impeccable, yet their administrative habits have quietly, dangerously expired,
Wow.
which is turning routine paperwork into a literal crime.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We've pulled together a whole stack of official UK regulatory texts for you today. So we're looking at the Data Protection Act 1998, the RID-DOR regulations of 2013, and actual real-world compliance notices from health and safety inspectors.
The real stuff, yeah.
The real stuff. We are going to extract the modern compliance rules you need to know so you can avoid accidentally breaking the law. So, okay, let's unpack this. I want to start at the absolute genesis of any workplace safety protocol. The exact moment someone gets hurt.
Right.
Historically, you just write it down in the accident book. But the sources show that this classic administrative tool is now like a ticking time bomb.
It really is. The traditional accident book, that simple bound ledger sitting on a communal desk, it's become a serious legal liability.
Right, just having the book.
Just having that specific type of book, yeah. And to understand why, we really have to look at the conflicting demands placed on a business owner.
Okay.
So on one hand, you have the Social Security regulations from 1979. Specifically, regulations 24 and 25 mandate that employers must keep a record of all workplace injuries, and they have to preserve those records for at least 3 years.
Right, which makes total sense from like a claims and insurance perspective. I mean, if someone
Yeah.
twists their ankle on the loading dock, you document it immediately. You're following that 1979 mandate, you think you're protected.
But here's the critical failure inspectors are currently finding. Businesses are still using those old-style bound ledgers. And using an obsolete accident book is now a direct, severe violation of the Data Protection Act 1998.
Oh, wow.
And by extension, the General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR.
I think I see the mechanical flaw here. Because of how a traditional bound book works, right? Like if I cut my hand today and go to fill out a page, I have to flip past the entry from yesterday.
Yes, you do.
Which means I'm just casually reading about Dave from accounting's hernia or, the details of Sarah's panic attack last month. You're basically forcing employees to read a public diary of their coworkers' medical history just to log their own incident.
That is the exact problem. Medical data is categorized as some of the most sensitive personal data in existence under modern privacy laws.
Right?
What's fascinating here is how two massive, distinct regulatory frameworks, workplace safety and data privacy, they just crashed into each other.
Yeah, totally.
The safety laws demanded an immediate permanent record, but the privacy laws evolved to fiercely restrict who can actually view that record.
But wait, if I'm a manager, this feels completely unworkable. I mean, if an employer is just trying to follow that 1979 rule to log the injury, how are they supposed to balance that with modern privacy laws without needing a law degree? Or, needing a lawyer present every time someone needs a Band-Aid?
Well, the solution is actually entirely structural. The law doesn't want you to stop recording. It just demands you change the physical architecture of the record itself.
Okay.
Modern compliance requires that sensitive medical data be kept in a locked facility, provided exclusively for that purpose.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot leave a communal book on a desk.
So the book itself has to change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The physical accident books have been redesigned to accommodate this. Inspectors explicitly point businesses toward the modern versions, which you can get from HSE books, either by phone or on their website.
So it's not a ledger anymore. What does a GDPR-compliant book actually look like?
In these compliant versions, every single incident report is on a perforated page.
Oh, tear out pages.
Yes, tear out pages. The injured person or the manager fills out the details of the accident. Then they immediately detach that page and it goes straight into a secure, locked filing cabinet.
Leaving the book itself as just like a shell of blank forms?
Precisely. The next person who needs to log an incident only sees blank paper. The historical data is completely segregated and secured.
That is so simple but so effective.
It is. But furthermore, the modern privacy framework requires something the 1979 rules never dreamed of, which is a proper privacy notice.
Wait, a privacy notice for an internal workplace injury? I thought those were just for, websites tracking my cookies.
Not anymore, no. Whenever you collect sensitive medical data, even from your own employees, you have to explicitly state the name of the business collecting it, the lawful basis for that collection.
Which here would be the statutory duty for health and safety, right?
Yeah. Correct. And you also have to state exactly who that data might be shared with, internally or externally. It forces the employer to treat a twisted ankle with the exact same data security rigor as a credit card transaction.
That is wild. So if you are listening to this right now and you know there is a bound open ledger sitting in your break room or HR office where anyone can just flip through past injuries, you are currently operating an active data protection violation.
You absolutely are.
Getting the modern tear-out version isn't just a nice upgrade, it's a legal necessity.
And, that transition from the communal ledger to the locked cabinet perfectly illustrates our next point.
Yeah.
Because once you've securely logged the incident on site, well, that data eventually has to go somewhere.
Right.
The internal problem is solved, but the external transmission is where the next trap is waiting.
Which brings us to the modernization of RIDDOR, the Reporting of Injuries, Diseases, and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations 2013. The sources are highlighting a massive failure rate when it comes to businesses reporting severe incidents to the authority.
Huge failure rate.
And it's not that they aren't reporting them, it's how they are reporting them.
Yeah, we are seeing this bizarre administrative time capsule effect. The reporting requirements underwent a fundamental shift starting back in April 2012, yet health and safety inspectors are still encountering businesses acting as if it's the 1990s.
Still using the mail.
Yes. For decades, the standard procedure for a major incident involved a manager filling out a multi-part paper form, putting it in an envelope, and mailing it to the local regulatory office.
And according to the current compliance notices, doing that today means you have legally failed to report the incident at all.
Exactly.
The authorities will simply not accept paper forms by post. If you have a fatal injury, a major injury, or an over 7-day injury, it must be processed online through the HSE portal.
And we should probably clearly define that over 7-day category because it's a critical threshold. This refers to an occupational accident that results in an employee being away from work or, unable to perform their full range of normal duties for more than 7 consecutive days.
And the clock on that is incredibly strict, right? The sources dictate that an over 7-day injury must be specifically notified within 15 days of the incident occurring.
Yes, 15 days.
Now, the sources do mention a telephone service exists, but they put a massive caveat on it. The phone line is exclusively for fatal and major injuries.
Right.
You cannot call in an over 7-day injury, and you certainly cannot mail it. You have to use the digital portal. I guess my question is, why the draconian shift? Like, mailing in a major injury report today is basically like trying to file your taxes via carrier pigeon. The authorities just won't accept it. But what does this mean for a small business owner? If they pop a report in the mail like they've done for 20 years, are they suddenly considered criminals?
Technically, yes, they are in breach of a statutory duty. And it really comes down to a concept we can call data velocity.
Data velocity, okay.
Think about the mechanics of paper. A mailed form takes days to arrive. It sits in a mailroom, gets routed to a desk, and eventually someone manually types that information into a database. In a modern industrial economy, that delay is fundamentally dangerous.
It makes me think of, like, navigation apps. Trying to manage national workplace safety with mailed forms is like trying to navigate rush hour traffic using a 10-year-old paper map.
Exactly.
The map might be technically accurate, sure, but it doesn't tell you there's a multi-car pileup half-mile ahead.
Yeah.
The digital portal operates more like Waze or Google Maps,
Yep.
It relies on instant live data to actually be effective.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, yeah. Yeah. From the regulator's perspective, forcing all incident reports through a centralized digital portal allows algorithms to instantly spot hazard patterns across the entire country. Imagine a scenario where a specific model of industrial machinery has a subtle manufacturing defect. If 3 different factories in 3 different cities experience severe injuries from that exact machine on a Tuesday, well, the portal's database flags that anomaly by Wednesday morning.
Oh, wow.
And the regulator can issue an immediate targeted safety alert.
Which could literally save lives on Thursday.
Exactly. If those 3 factories had mailed their reports, it would take weeks for a human analyst to notice the correlation, if they noticed it at all. So mandating the portal isn't just bureaucratic red tape. It is transforming administrative paperwork into an active predictive safety net.
That makes total sense.
When a business ignores the portal and relies on the post, they're essentially blinding the national safety network.
Okay, that makes the rigid 15-day digital requirement completely logical.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. We've spent this entire time establishing two absolute rules. One, you must protect sensitive medical data under the Data Protection Act. Two, you must report severe incidents to the regulator. So, let's imagine the worst-case scenario.
Okay, lay it out.
A major accident happens. You've locked the medical data in the secure cabinet, like we said. You've filed the digital report. A week later, the health and safety inspector physically knocks on your door to investigate.
This is the moment where the collision between privacy law and safety law reaches its absolute peak tension.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because under the Health and Safety at Work, Etc. Act, 1974, when an inspector requires information regarding an accident, the employer usually has 14 days to provide it. And the compliance rules are blunt.
Under Section 33, specifically 33 of the Act, if you withhold that information, you are committing a criminal offense for obstructing an official investigation.
Right. The powers granted to an inspector are deliberately vast because they act as the ultimate safeguard for public welfare. But look at the paradox that creates for the business owner. Wait a second. On Monday, you tell me that if I leave an employee's medical file on a desk, I'm violating the Data Protection Act and facing massive fines. But on Friday, an inspector demands I hand over that exact same highly sensitive medical file, and if I refuse, I face criminal obstruction charges.
It's a tough spot.
It feels like a massive catch-22. If I hand over the file, I break privacy laws. If I protect the file, I obstruct a safety investigation. How does an employer survive that intersection?
It looks like a trap, I agree, but the legal framework actually anticipates this exact scenario. And the resolution lies in understanding the hierarchy of these laws.
Okay.
You cannot use the Data Protection Act as a shield against a lawful regulatory investigation.
So safety just automatically trumps privacy.
It does, through a very specific legal mechanism outlined in our sources. If we connect this to the bigger picture of how the Data Protection Act 1998 was actually written, lawmakers included Section 31.
Section 31, okay.
This section contains a vital exemption. It explicitly states that personal data processed for the purpose of discharging regulatory functions.
Like protecting health and safety.
Exactly. Specifically, functions designed to protect members of the public against risks to health and safety, those are completely exempt from the standard subject information provisions.
Oh, wow. So the privacy law itself has a built-in backdoor for safety inspectors.
Essentially, yes. The fundamental philosophy of privacy law is to protect the individual from unauthorized public exposure or commercial exploitation.
Yeah.
It is designed to stop your coworkers from reading your medical history or a corporation from selling it. However, it was never intended to paralyze the state's ability to investigate a threat to life and limb. When an authorized inspector demands that data to ensure the workplace is safe, well, their legal mandate supersedes your internal privacy protocols.
So the business owner is legally protected when they hand that locked file over to the inspector. They aren't breaching GDPR because Section 31 essentially suspends those specific privacy provisions for the duration of the regulatory investigation.
Correct. I mean, the data must still be handled securely by the inspector, of course, but the employer's duty shifts from protect the data from everyone to provide the data to the authorized authority.
Got it.
The real danger arises when business owners don't understand this hierarchy and they just treat compliance as a flat, static checklist, where they think one rule rigidly applies to every single situation.
And that static checklist mentality is a perfect bridge to the final major trap we need to explore today, because this lazy sort of set it and forget it approach isn't just happening with paperwork and accident books. The sources reveal it is infecting the management of physical hazards on the factory floor as well.
It really is.
We are talking about the danger of copy-paste compliance.
We see this beautifully illustrated, or rather disastrously illustrated, in how some businesses handle the control of substances hazardous to health regulations 2002, better known as COSH.
Yeah, the inspectors in our sources documented scenarios that are almost comical if they weren't so dangerous. They found businesses that actually took proactive steps to improve physical safety. Like, a company might realize they are using a highly toxic cleaning chemical on the floor, and they make the really smart decision to substitute it for a modern, much safer, non-hazardous alternative.
Which is exactly what the regulations encourage you to do. You want to eliminate the hazard at the source.
But then the inspectors check the administrative side, the actual COSH assessments, and they find that the safety documentation is entirely copy-pasted from the old, dangerous chemical.
Right.
The paperwork doesn't reflect the new reality at all. It's like upgrading your computer's hardware but never bothering to update the operating system. You have a safer chemical, but your safety manual is still terrified of the old one.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. Administrative compliance is the operating system of workplace safety. And we see this identical failure with the control of asbestos regulations in 2012.
Right, the asbestos surveys.
Yeah. A business might commission an incredibly thorough, really expensive initial asbestos survey to map out exactly where the hazardous materials are in their building. They tick that regulatory box, put the survey in a binder, and just leave it on a shelf for 5 years.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. But they fail to recognize that physical reality degrades. Asbestos materials can be damaged by subtle building vibrations, moisture, or even accidental impacts. If you aren't regularly inspecting those known materials against the original baseline survey, your documentation just becomes a work of fiction.
And if the paperwork is fiction, the emergency response is going to be fiction. I mean, if there's a spill of that new, safer chemical, but the first responders pull the old COSH sheet, they might use a highly aggressive neutralizer that reacts violently with the new chemical, creating a brand new disaster. You basically created a hazard by failing to update a Word document.
Precisely. A risk assessment is not a historical artifact meant to prove you cared about safety on one specific Tuesday 3 years ago. It has to be a living, real-time reflection of your current physical environment. If you change a chemical, buy a new forklift, or alter a workflow, the administration must evolve in tandem immediately.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've covered a lot of ground today, tracing the evolution of safety administration from 1979 ledgers to the data velocity of modern portals.
A lot of ground, yeah.
Whether you are a manager running a business or an employee who might suffer a minor workplace injury, knowing how sensitive medical data is legally supposed to be handled is crucial self-knowledge. There's some very clear takeaways here.
Yeah.
First, go interrogate your accident book. If it is a bound communal diary where you can flip through and read about your coworkers' past injuries, it is obsolete and it is a massive data protection liability. Throw out those obsolete accident books and get the GDPR compliant ones from HSE books.
Ones with the tear-out pages, yeah.
Right, and lock that historical data away.
Second, completely abandon the postage stamp when it comes to RIDDOR. The era of mailing in severe injury reports is over, and relying on it means you are failing your statutory duty. You must integrate with the HSE's digital portal, and you really must respect that strict 15-day deadline for any over 7-day injuries. You are feeding a live network that protects everyone.
Third, understand that while data privacy is paramount, it is not absolute. Section 31 of the Data Protection Act exists for a reason. You cannot use GDPR to obstruct a health and safety inspector's lawful investigation. When the regulator demands the incident data, you have 14 days to hand it over.
Right.
And finally, kill the copy-paste compliance habit. Your administrative paperwork is the brain of your physical safety operation. Update your risk assessments when things change. If your physical workspace changes, your paperwork has to match that reality.
The overarching theme here is really adaptation. The shift from static paper records to secure, digital, high-velocity data networks. It has fundamentally rewired how we are legally required to administer safety. And this raises an important question.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Think about how rapidly the landscape shifted beneath our feet. Our most trusted, universally accepted paper tools for physical safety, like the Open Ledger Accident Book, they were rendered completely obsolete and legally dangerous almost overnight by the sudden rise of digital data privacy laws.
Yeah, literally turned into a crime.
Exactly. It forces you to look at your current systems and ask, what standard, universally accepted digital safety practices that we rely on today without a second thought will seem shockingly negligent or even illegal in 10 years when the next wave of data legislation or AI integration arrives?
Wow. Will the very portals and locked cabinets we use today be seen as hopelessly insecure tomorrow?
Probably.
It's a guarantee that the rules will change again. The hazard tape isn't always bright yellow, and it's not always on the factory floor. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in your business is the obsolete habit hiding right there in your filing cabinet.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go check those accident books, update your assessments, and we will catch you next time.